It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday morning in Sevierville, Tennessee, a sleepy mountain town known more for its scenic views and tourist-friendly streets than for horrific crimes. But on June 27, 2025, something happened behind closed doors that would haunt an entire community. A man was found naked, beaten, and unconscious in his own home. His body was soaked in bleach. His mouth had been stuffed with a toilet plunger. And worst of all, his 3-year-old child was missing. This isn't a story of random violence. It's a story of deception, brutality, and a young man named Charles Coffman, who now stands accused of one of the most bizarre and disturbing attacks in recent Tennessee history. The horror unfolded just before dawn on a warm Sunday morning. A Sevier County detective arrived at a modest home to perform a welfare check. Someone, possibly a family member, had grown concerned after being unable to reach the resident. The home appeared normal from the outside, but inside, something was terribly wrong. The detective made his way through the quiet house, and then, in the bathroom, he found a scene out of a nightmare. On the cold tile floor was a man, completely naked, his body covered in deep bruises and open, raw wounds. His mouth had been gagged with the handle of a toilet plunger. His arms and legs showed signs of restraint. And bleach, yes, household bleach, had been poured over his injuries. The chemical smell was overwhelming. The man was unconscious, barely breathing, clinging to life. The officer immediately called for backup and paramedics. But there was something else missing from the scene. The man's young child, just 3 years old, was nowhere to be found. Amidst the chaos and trauma unfolding in the bathroom, officers began searching the home. No sign of the toddler. No crib. No toys out of place. Nothing to suggest where the child might be. Then they noticed something else. The family's SUV, a Ford Expedition, was missing. At that point, all assumptions turned deadly serious. An Amber Alert was issued. Law enforcement from across the region mobilized to find the missing child. Authorities feared the worst, that whoever had tortured the victim had taken the child as well. The hours that followed would be tense, uncertain, and critical. It didn't take long for investigators to make a breakthrough. Just hours later, officers located the stolen Ford Expedition parked off a rural road. Inside, they found 3 people. A 19-year-old man named Charles Coffman. An unidentified woman. And the missing 3-year-old child. Miraculously, the child was alive and unharmed. He was immediately taken to a nearby hospital for evaluation and later released to family. But the question remained, who was Charles Coffman? According to early reports, Coffman was not a stranger to the victim. He was allegedly connected through mutual acquaintances, or possibly through the child's mother. Some accounts suggest Coffman may have posed as an Uber driver, tricking the mother into thinking he was coming to pick up the child. Others believe Coffman may have used someone else's phone or a hacked account to gain access to the home. When questioned by police, Coffman claimed that the child's mother had asked him to pick the child up using the Uber app. She firmly denied this. Authorities quickly dismissed Coffman's story as inconsistent and suspicious. What happened inside that home in the hours before the police arrived is still being pieced together. But here's what investigators believe. Coffman entered the home sometime during the early morning hours. Once inside, he violently attacked the father of the child. He allegedly threw him to the floor and began punching him repeatedly, focused, targeted blows to the head and torso. At some point, Coffman retrieved a toilet plunger and used it to gag the man, forcing the handle into his mouth. Then came the bleach. Detectives believe Coffman poured bleach onto the victim's open wounds, either as a method of torture or an attempt to destroy DNA evidence. The man suffered what doctors described as a subdural hematoma, a life-threatening brain injury caused by head trauma. There were also signs of chemical burns across his chest, face, and groin. It's nothing short of a miracle that he survived. And while he lay unconscious, Coffman allegedly took the child, the SUV, and fled. Coffman was immediately taken into custody. The woman with him, whose identity has not yet been released, was also detained but has not been charged at the time of this recording. Coffman was transported to Knox County Jail. He is being held without bond. The charges against him are severe. Aggravated kidnapping. Attempted second-degree murder. Tampering with evidence. Theft of a motor vehicle. Additional charges could still be filed, particularly if the woman with him is found to have played a role in the planning or execution of the attack. So, what motivated this brutal act? That's the question investigators and the community are desperate to answer. Was it a targeted assault? Was there jealousy or a romantic rivalry involved? Was the child used as leverage? Authorities have confirmed they're analyzing phone records, social media activity, GPS data, and interviews with friends and relatives. Digital forensic teams are also reviewing activity on rideshare apps to see if any fake bookings or spoof profiles were used. Police believe the crime was not random. In fact, there's growing speculation that Coffman may have planned this attack days in advance, and that he may have had help. The victim, whose name has not been released for safety reasons, remains in recovery. He's awake, stable, and reportedly cooperating with investigators. The child is now safe and has been reunited with family, and Charles Coffman awaits his day in court. If convicted, he could face decades, or even life, in prison. But even with the suspect behind bars, many questions remain unanswered. Why was the victim targeted? Was this personal, or part of something larger? And what role, if any, did the unidentified woman play? One thing is certain, this wasn't just a crime. It was a calculated act of cruelty that turned a quiet home into a crime scene straight out of a horror movie. This case is still unfolding. New details may emerge in the coming weeks as the investigation continues. For now, we're left with a disturbing picture. A father nearly beaten to death, a child stolen in the middle of the night, and a 19-year-old whose motive remains a chilling mystery. What began as a welfare check became one of the most shocking true crime stories in recent memory. If you found this case unsettling or important, please consider subscribing for more in-depth true crime stories. And tell us in the comments, what do you think happened in that house? Was Coffman acting alone? Or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Until next time, stay safe, stay alert, and never ignore your instincts.